I'm here at the scene of the crime spree, right behind me.
Strange. Vice Mayor Strange, you'll address her properly.
You can kiss my foot.
Mr. Rickard, you're out of order.
FBI, we are asking you to investigate this council. Please look into this council, how they award contracts, the bid process, how they use their positions to benefit their friends and themselves, how they use their positions to attack residents and critics and neighbors and business competition. FBI, will you please look into this?
And I welcome the FBI here. If you notice, Mr. Thompson, with his plea for the FBI and his watchdog group, this city runs the cleanest in this whole county. I guarantee
He
that.
was served a federal subpoena this morning.
Did receive a subpoena this morning, and we're going to cooperate 100% with the subpoena. And
most of you who were involved up here, you gaslighted me. You tried to say I was crazy. And now we know that that's not true. And there's a lot of other issues I've been asking about as well.
What a day. We've got a bunch of answers. You remember I told you last night that within 24 hours we'd have some answers, and we do. I was in the federal courthouse today, although I got there after the Beacon of Bay County. Yeah, they were both there. Yep, Jody and Jerry were there before I was there. But I made it and was able to see what happened, and I'm going to report to you what I saw, what has happened, and what it means. You ready for this? This is incredible. This is an incredible story. And we're talking about being in the middle of a crescendo. There's a lot going on. So if you want friends and family to hear about this, I hope you'll tag them or share, because you know Facebook is terrible about notifying people about the shows. Okay, so let me give you the headline. Margo Anderson pled guilty today for making a false statement to a government official during an investigation. All right, she pled guilty. Now, remember yesterday, we didn't know during the show. I found out after the show that at a hearing yesterday, Judge Walker gave Margo Anderson, he was going to allow her, he said, basically, Judge Walker said, it's cool with me. I think those were his exact words. Just kidding, Judge. Just kidding, Judge. But the thing is, what we didn't know last night is that both sides had to agree to it. So just because Judge Walker said these other types of pleas are on the table, they're only on the table and available if the prosecutors agree to them, and they did not. The prosecutors said, nope. We're not giving it. And the options were these. These were two options. He was allowing Anderson yesterday to either enter an Alford plea or a nolo contendere plea. Learning more fancy legal words. An Alford plea, which is what I anticipated to see today. When I got there, I thought this is what I was going to see. I was really surprised to see that she pled guilty to making a false statement to a government official during an investigation. I was really surprised. I said, okay, so what's going on here? Because I thought you had options. And they said, no. Her attorney said, no. The prosecutors did not agree to that. So that was not an option. WMBB got that wrong in their story, but oh, geez, wait till you see what WMBB is saying about this. So basically, I thought she was going to go and say, I am making a plea, but I am not guilty. But I think that the prosecutors have enough witnesses and evidence to get a conviction, so I accept this plea. Well, that was not available. So that's an important distinction. So when you hear anybody say she pled guilty, she had other options. She did not have other options other than go to trial. Some people say, well, that's what she should have done. That's what she should have. Well, you got to consider a few things. this sucks. This sucks if you are a defendant and you plead guilty and the judge adjudicates you guilty and you are a felon. And you'll see Tom Lewis gets a kick out of saying convicted felon. He really does. But I want you to think about this as we look at all of this and see what she did. If you've been under this prosecution for 4 Christmases, you are 68 years old. Your own government is against you. Your local news is against you. Your mother has passed away during this time. Their family says due to stress. Your husband is, and I don't know if this is public, but he's battling a pretty serious health condition. Your best friend, the defendant, we know because it is public, James Finch, has stage 4 cancer. You know, it's different maybe if you're 55 and in your prime like me, you know, and everybody's healthy, and maybe it's only been 1 or 2 Christmases, and I'm willing to go to the mat on all the counts, even if the government and prosecutors say, even if you hear this now, even if you win in trial, we'll re-indict you. We'll come back for you. Just like they did Jimmy Malden. I heard the story about Jimmy Malden. If you know him, you know, not guilty. We'll get you again. We'll get you again. We'll get you again. You'll never be able to tell your story. I mean, you know, so listen to this. These are the details now. So she pled guilty to giving false statements to a false statement to an federal government official during an investigation. Specifically, here's what she pled guilty to. And her attorney did a bang-up job getting ECS removed from that information statement last night. The only thing that Margo Anderson pled guilty to is in 2019, in November of 2019, the day before. It was actually the day that State Attorney Larry Bassford was elected. It was, I believe, on November 18 of 2019. The day before, Mickey White and all of them were actually indicted. So their indictment was not known yet. So the day before that, FBI agent comes to Mayor Anderson, poking around. You know, these nosy FBI guys, right? He's got some questions about the corruption they're investigating. And one of the questions they ask her is, how long have you known Mickey White? She says, not long. It was after the hurricane, probably December of last year, December of 2018, maybe January of 2019. That's when I remember meeting him. That's it. All right. So the next day rolls around and bam, Mickey White's indicted. The big press conference, right? So what she pled guilty to today is that the government said, no, you met him in October of 2019, not December of 2019. That's all she pled guilty to, is when she met the guy who planted the fake invoice on her, the ECS owner, Mickey White. You say, well, why would she say that? Well, what if the government has 3 or 4 witnesses lined up? Witnesses who have already pled guilty, and witnesses who might say anything before they're sentenced. Witnesses like Michael White, former city manager, former city attorney Adam Albritton, Mickey White himself, and who knows who else. Right? So I want you to understand something. And I'll tell you about the sentencing. So be clear here. What Margo Anderson pled guilty today to is making a false statement to a government official. And the false statement was, before anybody had been indicted, I think I met Mickey in December of 2018 or January of 2019. And the FBI says, no, damn it. And the prosecutors say it was 2 months earlier. Say it, say it, say it. And if you say it, hey, we'll drop all the other 64 charges. And you don't have to cooperate with us. You don't have to testify against your friend James Finch. And as a matter of fact, we're going to drop charges on him too. They did. Did you know that? Has WMBB told you that? Yeah, James Finch had charges dropped today. Now he's only facing 2 charges. And they are so weak. One, that he wrote a check to Antonius Barnes as a bribe when Antonius Barnes says it wasn't a bribe. And then 2, conspiracy to bribe Barnes. That's all that's left on Finch. So imagine this. Let's see here. So she'll be sentenced after James Finch, and the guidelines for this are for prison time for Margo are 0 days in prison to up to 6 months. Those are the guidelines. That's what the conversation they're having is. All right. I've been on the phone nonstop, drove to Tallahassee back. My voice is going to be a disaster tonight, so please bear with me. So she's looking at realistically 0 to 6 months. However, in the courtroom today, Judge Walker made it very clear, and if you read WMBB's headline, they're making it sound like she's going away for 5 years. Okay. It's not within the guidelines, but it is a maximum penalty. All right. So how does a judge decide maximum penalties? Here's what he said. He said, we'll consider how many prior arrests you have. She has 0. Okay. And we'll consider the severity of what you did here. So what is the severity of what she did here? She told an FBI agent that she met Mickey White in December. And the government says, no, damn it, it was in October. Remember? You better remember, or we'll never stop coming after you. Because the last thing we need from you, Missy, is for you to go to trial and for you to call up, Sheriff Tommy Ford, Major Jimmy Stanford, FBI Agent Borghini, put them under oath. You just go away. You just say that and go away, and you're probably not going to get any prison time. Okay. It was October. That's what imagine this conversation down the road. All right. With Margo Anderson. Imagine that you just meet her for the first time. All right. Maybe you're talking about the conversation comes about guns. And she says, oh, I can't buy a gun. And you say, why not? She says, I'm actually a convicted felon. And they go, oh my God, what'd you do? And she says, well, I was the mayor of Lynn Haven and they go, oh, I know you. I saw you all over the news. Holy crap. Man, they charged you with like 60 charges. How many of them did they get you on? And then imagine in the future when you meet Margo Anderson and she says, well, actually, they dropped them all. What do you mean all of them? I saw the RV. Yeah, I got that back. She's getting her RV back, by the way. So they dropped all the charges? Yeah. So how come you're a felon? Well, see, one guy planted an invoice on me. Mickey White and ECS, they planted a fake invoice. And the day before he got arrested, FBI agent came and asked me when I met him. And I said, geez, probably December. And if I agreed to say it was October, they drop everything. And I could go on with my life. And they would never bring any of those 64 charges back like they had been threatening to do. Is that a crazy story? I really want to read to you WMBB's version. And I just hope my voice holds up. But first, let me thank a few people. Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
All right, let's take a look at WMBB's story about the big news today. Is this big news or is this big news? Huey Lewis in the news. Tom Lewis, the director of WMBB. Tell us about this, Tom. Listen to his tone. All right.
Margo Anderson has pled guilty to one count of making a false statement to a federal agency. It was a straight-up guilty plea, no offered plea, and no nolo contendere plea. Federal Judge Mark Walker scheduled today's plea hearing late yesterday afternoon. In the order, it stated that he would allow Anderson to have different plea options. An offered plea means that the defendant does not admit guilt, but does acknowledge the prosecution has enough evidence to obtain a guilty verdict at trial. The nolo contendere plea means that the defendant does not admit or deny their guilt, but is willing to accept the court's punishment. During today's proceedings, it was announced that the no contest order was not necessary because Anderson was going to plead guilty.
All right. Well, here's what he left out, as usual. He left out that she did not have that option today, because Judge Walker said he would allow it in yesterday's hearing, but it was contingent upon both sides agreeing that she could choose which of those pleas to make. And the prosecutors said, no, you don't have that option. So WMBB is incorrect on that, about why she chose that option.
By pleading guilty, Anderson admits it does not admit or deny their guilt, but is willing to accept the court's punishment. During today's proceedings, it was announced that the no contest order was not necessary because Anderson was going to plead guilty. By pleading guilty, Anderson admits that she lied to FBI agents about when she met a contractor that was involved in some of the alleged illegal activity taking place in Lynn Haven. As a result of that plea, Anderson could face up to 5 years in prison. She's also prohibited of talking to her co-defendant, Phoenix Construction owner James Finch.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Do you see how they jump straight to the 5 years? And that's on their Facebook page. Anderson faces up to 5 years. I'm telling you, the guidelines are 0 to 6 months. He, by law, has to read that. He has to say 5 years. But the conversation is 0 to 6 months based on her priors and based on the severity of the crime that she confessed to today. All right. Does it seem like a severe crime? That I met him in October. Okay. I thought it was December. Okay. If that's a severe crime, she could get up to, I don't know, 3 months, 4 months. If it's not a very severe crime, like, I don't know, compared to 64 counts of public corruption, then it could be 0. But, listen more to the snark and delight in Tom Lewis's voice.
But she will get that RV back that the FBI confiscated.
And the, quote, free, close quote, motorhome seized by the government was not free. It will be released by the government and soon parked back at Anderson's house in Lynn Haven. The government is dismissing those 2 counts, those 2 charges, and will assert no other charges.
Anderson was accused of helping to funnel city contracts to Finch's company before and after Hurricane Michael. She, again, is now a convicted felon, but this deal's a far cry from the 64 city contracts to Finch.
Excuse me. Listen to this news. My God. Listen to the little underhanded way Lewis says this, okay?
Finch's company before and after Hurricane Michael. She, again, is now a convicted felon, but this deal's a far cry from the 64 charges she originally faced when she was first indicted. Finch is still scheduled to go on trial for bribery and corruption later this month, but that date may change.
So, okay. So for bribery and corruption. So what they didn't tell you is that today they dropped charges on Finch too.
2 playoff games down.
Sorry. So they dropped charges on Finch too. Although, let me tell you right now, from what I understand, James Finch is not accepting any deal that they give him. He wants to go to trial. He wants this sorted out. And that's in 10 days. It's on Monday. In 10 days. And they dropped the motorhome charge. So that was I'll tell you what happened is, now that we've seen the evidence, they knew all along that it was paid for by Lee Anderson. The free motorhome thing and the picture videos over and over and over were a lie. I thought it was true too. I initially thought that was true. I mean, right? But I learned, because I was curious and I looked at the evidence, that, oh, Schneikes, they did pay for that. And the government knew that, so they dropped that. So Finch isn't facing that, and Margo's not facing that. And so all that Finch is left with, they said, public corruption and bribery. Actually, what he's only left with are 2 counts. A $5,000 check to Antonius Barnes, former commissioner, a loan for a business that he started that he didn't pay back. All right. And 2, conspiracy to bribe Barnes. That's all. He wants to go to trial. He wants to call witnesses. He wants a jury to decide. And I hope that's what happens. But I got to tell you something, because I wouldn't be surprised. I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised. What have I been saying? By the way, I got to tell you this too. I keep hearing that a lot of people are upset that public officials keep getting away with stealing. And my answer to that is, the only people who are saying that are either they either don't like these people, or I don't know, maybe I understand, because when I hear that and I don't know the details, I get pretty pissed off too. I don't want public officials getting away with stealing. But that falls under the category of they haven't seen the evidence. If anybody, and that goes for you lawyers walking around town, because I know, like, for example, guys I like Larry Perry, just a bunch of people around town. If you haven't seen the evidence, I understand why you would think this, but you have an obligation to read the evidence, see the evidence. It's out there now. You know, if you're going to make these assertions, I think, don't you? And when you read the evidence, you might find out who actually directed the FEMA fraud. They're still running around getting protection. What was I going to tell you? Shoot. Oh, I remember what I was going to tell you. I don't think this is going to go to trial. And I don't think Finch is going to accept any deal. I don't know how this would happen, but I think the prosecutors are going to drop it. I don't think under any circumstance they want to go to trial and go in and have the investigators who deflected attention away from the real criminals, their friends and supporters, and threw James Finch and Margo Anderson under the bus, thinking that with the full weight of the federal government, there's no way they can win. That's what I think happened. And I don't think they're going to go to trial. I don't think the federal government, that's why they made Margo Anderson this deal. And I hope it goes to trial. I hope the prosecutors don't drop the last 2 little bitty charges against James Finch. That really would fall under state ethics, not a gigantic FBI corruption. Do you remember in the old days, people would say, what are you going to make a federal case out of it? Yeah, they will here. To protect themselves and their friends, they'll make a federal case out of it. The FBI and the prosecutors, think about this now, please. This has been going on for 3 years. How many millions of dollars do you think have been spent? by the FBI and the prosecutors. In this case, against Finch and Anderson. How many millions of dollars? And how much time? For 2 counts, a $5,000 check? Nobody believes this is a way to spend money properly. We know people stole millions in FEMA money. Millions. Tens of millions. They're running free. They got protection. And we're talking about a $5,000 effing check. There's something rotten in the state of Denmark. There's something rotten in the state of Denmark. That's what the FBI and the prosecutors are spending their resources on in Bay County, in the Panhandle. Come on, man. You say, but Bernie, this isn't right. If you think they got away with something, you haven't done your research. You got to be informed, not just opinionated. It's important. All right. You've just got to see what they said on WMBB. You've just got to see what they called the RV, the famous RV that they're getting back. The RV that the sheriff's office was out there, the FBI, WMBB kept playing it over and over and over. The RV's coming home. There should be a song about it. Any songwriters out, the RV's coming home. But I'll tell you what I would do, because the FBI has had that thing for a long time. I don't know if they've been going to the race car, or to the races, or I don't know what they've been doing with the RV. Do you know what they do? Do they just like put it in a storage unit, or what do they do? I don't know. But there's 2 things I would do if I got the RV back. You got to check it for wires and bugs. The FBI's had it. But while you're checking, wear gloves. Because I wouldn't be surprised if you don't find some used condoms in the RV. They never thought the RV was coming home. You say, Bernie, you're ridiculous. Yeah, what's ridiculous is the FBI and the prosecutors and the sheriff's public trust unit. In fact, I'm going to make a public record request, actually. I am tomorrow. Somebody text me and remind me tomorrow, because I'll do it, but I'll forget if I don't. I'm going to make a public record. I want to know how many millions of dollars have been spent in the public trust unit at Sheriff Tommy Ford's Bay County Sheriff's Office to go after James Finch and Margo Anderson when they knew the whole time they didn't do it. How much money? How many millions of dollars? And why did they do it? By the way, you know what's happening? I mean, it's happening between now and the trial. All of that evidence that the FBI and Sheriff's Office took out of GAC contractors in July of 2021 after the search warrant. It was like 4 days after GAC President Derwin White passed away. They went in and took a whole bunch of evidence. And before they did, they told the judge, and they gave names. And they said Bay County's more corrupt than New Jersey and New Orleans. And they have that evidence, but they've been sitting on it. Between now, are you ready for this? Between now and when the trial starts in 10 days, defendant James Finch and his attorney, Guy Lewis, and the team, they get to go in there with big magnifying glasses, bigger than mine. And they get to go through all of that, looking for evidence that will help them in their case. What are they going to find? Because the FBI told the judge here that Bay County is more corrupt than New Jersey and New Orleans. And that's not $5,000 checks, which is what you do understand this, right? Like James Finch is going to trial over a $5,000 check that he gave to Antonius Barnes as a loan. You say, Bernie, it's not a loan. He expected something from it. All right, I'm going to even entertain that idea, because I think It's a reasonable thing to think. I'm going to entertain it. If it was a 3-2 vote, I would say, okay, that's a good point, valid point. They're all 4-0, 5-0 votes, and Antonius Barnes didn't even vote after that. You understand what I'm talking about? Goodness gracious. All right, let's take a look at WMBB and how they describe the RV and how they describe the story right after this.
Have you received a speeding ticket for which you want no points placed onto your driving record? I'm El Saline, 850-215-0628. Let me help you.
It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan could make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one, built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at PCAirrepair.com. All right, so now that you know what's up, right? You've been following along. Margo Anderson today pled guilty. They dropped all 64 charges. She is not required to cooperate with the government. She might even be called up as a witness in favor of James Finch. She got all that just to say that she made a false statement to a government official during an investigation that she thought she met Mickey White in December of 18. They say, no, damn it, you met him in October of 18. Say it. That's what she pled guilty to today. All right. All right, let's take a look at this. Goodness, I hope my voice holds up. Please forgive me. This is WMBB. Look, boom. Former Lynn Haven mayor pleads guilty to lying to the FBI. Margo Anderson, 68, now faces a maximum penalty of 5 years in federal prison. The conversation is 0 to 6 months. Those are the guidelines. All right, but go ahead, WMBB. 3 years of supervised release and a $250,000 fine. Okay. Let's see what the judge decides when the sentencing happens after the trial. He explained today how he was going to do that. I explained it earlier. Under the terms of the deal, prosecutors agreed her sentence would be reduced because she accepted responsibility for her crime. Anderson is set to be sentenced on May 5th. Do you understand what it says here? Because she accepted responsibility for her crime. What was her crime again? That she was 2 months off when she met Mickey White, the guy who, by the way, later on planted a fake invoice on her. Okay, that's her crime. Anderson agreed to the guilty plea after prosecutors said they would drop every other charge or possible future charges in the corruption case against her. It was a massive win. You notice they don't say that up higher, do they? That's not the caption on Facebook. It was a massive win. Look how they word this. For a politician who once faced 64 charges of bribery and corruption. Now, I don't feel like reading all this because of my voice. But basically, this is her attorney, Robert Vizina, right after the judge issued his ruling, and we all walked out of the courtroom. And basically, it's what I've been telling you, okay? But it's more legal talk. You can read it on WMBB. He added, the attorney, that Margo worked hard for the city and that she was the most popular mayor. The things you would expect an attorney to say about her, okay? As part of the deal, okay, Anderson will get back. This is such a big deal to me because I'm a trained journalist, okay? So it's a big deal to me. You say, Bernie, trained journalist. Ha! You're a talk show host. I understand. But, you know, I feel funny saying this. Look, I got a master's degree in journalism from one of the most prestigious journalism schools in the country, USC in Los Angeles, okay? And this is a straight news story, right? This is not a talk show. It's a straight news. If I wrote a straight news story, I wouldn't say this. Look what it says. As part of the deal. Here, can you read that yourself? Yep. Anderson will also get back her infamous RV. The first day of journalism school, I was in a class, and the professor's name was Ed Cray, C-R-A-Y. Look him up. It was 2000. It was in Los Angeles at USC. It was my very first class in graduate school. And Ed Cray was the professor. He was an old crusty newspaper man. And he told us, first thing I learned in journalism is when you write a straight news story, you should not use adjectives, okay? Because they slant the story. Just give it to us. Just tell us the information in a factual way with context and all that stuff. But to use the word infamous, why is her RV or Lee's RV, why is it infamous? That means famous in a bad way, you know. You know who's infamous? Jeffrey Dahmer, the Night Stalker. They're infamous. Her infamous RV. The RV that was stolen from them for 2.5 years. And after they realized that they couldn't get around the fact that they knew it was paid for, and they were up against it. Infamous RV, says WMBB. Oh my God. Originally said it was a bribe delivered to her by Finch, the owner of Phoenix Construction. Meanwhile, federal prosecutors will be able to say that 8 of the 9 people they charged in the corruption pled guilty and faced criminal sentences. Now, why would they say that in a straight news story? Who's writing this? Federal prosecutors will be able to say they still got bragging rights. Is that straight news or is that PR? The wild card. Now WMBB is talking about the wild card. You see that right in the middle. The wild card is Finch, who is the last remaining criminal defendant in the case. Finch was accused of bribing Anderson, former city commissioner Antonius Barnes. Barnes admitted that he took a $45,000 loan from Finch in order to start a business while serving as a commissioner. However, Barnes testified at a hearing in December that while he took the money and never paid it back, Finch did not bribe him. So he's always said that. Again, even if this were true, let's play that game. Even if this were true, that it was a bribe, is this a federal case or a state ethics case, for God's sake? Like Anderson, Barnes was allowed to plead to a lesser charge and never admitted guilt in a bribery scheme. He didn't not admit it. He denied it. Finch, and he denied it at great risk to himself, by the way. Finch is scheduled for a trial at the end of the month. Okay, so there we go. So James Finch says it's on like Donkey Kong. I think that's an exact quote from James Finch. And trial is in 10 days. Meanwhile, Finch and his attorneys are going to be going through the GAC search warrant stuff, looking for even more stuff. And I don't think the prosecutors want any part of this. Just go away, James, like Margo did, and we won't bother you again with this stuff. Just don't go to trial and don't call us up on that witness stand in front of Judge Walker. And quit looking so hard at what we found. I don't think they can just drop the case against Finch. I mean, I suppose they could, but would they have to pay us lawyer fees? Do you know how much his attorney fees are? In the millions for sure. The federal Department of Justice would have to sign off on that over minor state ethics charges. That's really what these are. But down to the end, WMBB will call it the infamous RV and all of this. But, all right, so I'm going to get out of here. Clearly, I've been on the phone all day driving. I'm worn out. It's time for me to go get some real nutrition. I'm going to go get some apple juice, I think. Been waiting for that, boy. I'm going to go get me some apple juice, 94 proof, as you know, just as soon as I can. So thanks for being with me. I'm going to be posting more on this tonight. I'm going to be reading your comments and trying my best to tell you what's really happening and to tell you where this is going. It's a disaster for the prosecutors. Again, I'll end with this because it's unbelievable. How many millions of dollars have the sheriff's office, the FBI, and the prosecutors spent trying to deflect attention away from the real criminals, which they have evidence on, by throwing these two under the bus. 10, 20 million? How many millions? We got to make a public record request. As always, I want to thank those of you who support the show, like the Unknown Patriot. I sure appreciate your support, because you know I couldn't do this if I worked for WMBB. WMBB says, Bernie, we wouldn't have you anyway. We've got Brady Calhoun and Tom Lewis. All right. I'm going to get out of here. I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for being with me. And I got lots more coming for you. Lots more.